The subject that dare not speak its name. OK, abortion. Oh, I said it. But Stephen Woodworth, the MP for Kitchener Centre, he feels differently. Why haven't you been arrested yet? You talk about abortion. This is wrong. It's Canada.
Well, although what I'm speaking about relates to abortion, in fact, I'm talking about Section 223 of the Criminal Code.
Well, that sounds fun.
It's a 400-year-old definition of human being, which says that in Canada, a child is not a human being until the moment of complete birth.
Right.
And so that's really what I'm talking about. It really is based on 17th century medical science. And my idea is that Parliament has a duty to update a law with such an important human rights implication using 21st century modern medical science. That's...
What are you doing? You're introducing a private member's bill? You're trying to force the government to work on this issue? What are you trying to do?
No, actually, all I did was to express an opinion in December.
Which was that we have no laws on abortion and maybe we should have a law.
Well, no, we have a law. It's a 17th century law that says that a child is not a human being until the moment of birth, complete birth. If a child's little toe remains in the birth canal, then the child is not a human being in Canada. And so the opinion that I've expressed is that a Canadian definition of human being should be determined with 21st century medical
How did the
technology.
Prime Minister's office react to you when you brought this up?
I always let the Prime Minister's office speak for itself.
Did they contact you?
If I have conversations with the Prime Minister's office, they're usually private, and I don't talk about private conversations.
Right. But you're not being offered a cabinet position?
Not to my knowledge.
Let's be candid here. You can talk about pretty much any issue. You can say bomb a country, close down a hospital, and, well, that's interesting. But if you actually even imply that life begins at conception, my golly, everyone has a fit. No, you mustn't say that.
Well, what I'm really saying is almost at the opposite end of things. What I'm saying is that a child is a human being at some point before the moment of complete birth. And
when? Let's be specific. Forget about 1644. I mean, our laws don't really apply to that because that's just an archaic piece of legislation.
Quite.
We publicly fund abortion in almost all of this country at any period. We have no laws protecting. In Europe, for example, many countries, it's illegal after the 3rd month. There's still many abortions that take place. Some have various aspects of funding. What would you like to be achieved in Canada? What would you like the status quo to be?
You know what? All that I would like to achieve right now is to get people into a respectful dialogue about it. I think before you can answer that question, we ought to hear what the evidence actually says. You know, what do we know about the development of a child before birth? Let's find out. And so I think, quite frankly, that parliamentarians have a duty to ensure that laws with important human rights implications are, in fact, informed by up-to-date current medical science and legal
well, we know
principles.
what it is, that at the point of conception, a child has a completely distinct DNA and genomic character. Unlike any other human being ever to have been born in the past or will be born in the future. There's no other valid or viable point of scientific definition for the beginning of life. We know all of this. But we also know that CBC, Toronto Star, Liberal Party, even many on the left or establishment of the Conservative Party do not want this subject to be debated, because if you even mention it, then you'll be accused of being American, evangelical, Catholic, or worse.
Well, I'll disagree with you a little bit, and that is that when I go into a dialogue with someone, I'm trying to find out what they think. I'm trying to explore what the evidence has to say, what the principles are underneath. I think that it's a wrong approach to begin by taking a firm position and saying, this is what I think, and I don't care what the evidence says or what other principles there may be.
Where do you stand on genocide?
Yeah, well...
Come on, we take firm positions on all sorts of things. We have to, of course we do.
There's a high degree of consensus on the question of genocide. There is not such a degree of consensus over when a child becomes a human being.
Right and wrong is not defined or decided by majority or opinion or consensus.
No, that's true. It should be informed by evidence and determined by principle. And how long has it been since we've actually discussed the medical evidence on the question of when a child becomes a human being?
30 years?
In Canada, 400 years.
No, I mean, we haven't had, well, we haven't existed for 400 years. We haven't had a debate on abortion at a parliamentary Ottawa level probably for 30 years.
Well, in point of fact, I think it's about 20.
Wow.
But
I don't recall it. I've been in this country 25 years. I don't recall a debate in Ottawa.
Yeah.
I don't recall an informed debate on the issue.
You'd have to look back around, I think, 1991, but
you're being a little, with all due respect, you're being a bit coy here. I'm still trying to get at what you... So you simply want the debate to take place?
That's correct.
In
I
Parliament?
think it's got to start there.
In the public square?
Parliament, yes, that's the place to do it. Right. And I really honestly don't mean to be coy, but I think it's just so important that we direct people's focus toward evidence and toward principle. We want to get away from the sort of he said, she said thing and look at where we stand in relation to 21st century modern
What have other MPs said to you?
Well, again, if I have conversations with other MPs, they're generally private. I will be coy about that. I don't disclose private conversations.
Come on, there are lots of people. Just give us an idea. I mean, if MPs said, don't name them, just, well done, we need to, or if they said, be quiet.
There are 308 MPs in our Parliament, and there's a wide diversity of opinions. Some of them agree with me, some of them don't.
Right.
I guess I'll be a little bit coy about naming people. And
I'm not asking you to name people. Right.
Private conversations are private.
Yeah.
But I do expect a diversity of opinion.
What about
just
your constituents?
As there is a diversity of opinion within Canadians.
What about people in your riding? Have they...
Same thing.
Divided?
Some people agree, some people don't. That's
right.
correct. So, but you know what? It shouldn't bother anyone that we have a diversity of opinion. I think this is one of the problems with this discussion, is that we come in with all guns blazing instead of listening.
We don't. I don't come in with guns blazing. I'm eager to listen, but as someone who's pro-life, I have been silenced. Pro-life clubs are closed down on campus. Pro-life speakers are threatened and thrown off of platforms. I mean, this has happened for years and years and years now. It's not pro-lifers silencing other people, it's pro-lifers being silenced.
Well, you may be right, but I suspect that there's generally some goes around all ways. And what I'm simply trying to say is, let's take a nice, respectful approach to this. Let's get the evidence on the table, and let's figure out what the principles actually should be.
Right.
For example, is it right in principle that any Canadian law should designate someone as non-human that we know as a human being? Is that a correct principle?
So life does begin at conception, you say?
No, I didn't say that. What I said was the question is, as a matter of principle, should any law designate someone as non-human that we know as a human being? And I'm pretty sure a child is a human being
I'm sure you won't like me for this, but this is the problem we face. Thank you for coming on the show, but I'm asking you questions. You won't give me answers. You're being... It's like dealing with soap here.
Have I not answered?
Where do you stand on the issue?
Well, if you Google me, you'll see...
But I'm asking you.
Yeah, you'll see that I'm a pro-life person.
Okay.
If that helps you to apply a label to me. But it isn't about me. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not about me. It's about the principles. Right. And one of the difficulties that we have in conversations like this is if you try to make it into a personal matter...
Not being personal. I'm trying to establish what we want here and what we believe.
Well, what I want is to get people talking about the principles and the evidence involved. Right. And it's not about me. You know, I'm pro-life. Maybe somebody isn't pro-life. Doesn't matter. We can still sit down and talk about, is it right? Okay. Is this law a good law? Is it not a good law?
Last question. Can we really sit down? Will there be a time, this coming year, in Ottawa, will there be a time when people will sit down and discuss the abortion issue? Will the Prime Minister's office, will Mr. Harper, will his people say to you, good idea, let's sit down and talk about this?
Yeah, I would never, ever try to speak for the Prime Minister.
Right,
I speak only for myself. And for myself, it's perfectly appropriate because I think human rights are important. I think a 400-year-old law that's not consistent with the evidence needs to be revisited. So I'm raising the issue, and I'm hoping that people will respond and we'll have a good parliamentary debate about it.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you.